Welcome to the 11th South-South Forum on Sustainability. This year, the main theme is health and the road to sustainability. And may I introduce myself first? I am Margaret Jadi Sitchoy, and I am Associate Professor of the Institute of Rural Reconstruction at Southwest University. And I'm also founding member of the Global University for Sustainability. And this evening, we have the section 3 of the theme 3, health and community sustainability. Now, I would like to introduce to this evening webinar's moderator, Professor Lau Qinqi. She is coordinator of the program on cultures of sustainability, Center for Cultural Research on Research and Development, Lingnan University. She is also adjunct associate professor of Department of Culture Studies, Lingnan University. She is founding member of Global University for Sustainability and director of its executive team and board member of Peace Women across the globe. Now I pass the floor to Qinqi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to our last session of the 11th South-South Forum on Sustainability. So the theme today is on sustainability and community development. So now I would like to welcome Claudia Yadira to be our first speaker. So Claudia Yadira is an economist from the National Polytechnic Institute and a sociologist at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. She is a promoter of alternative economies based on community organization for more than 15 years. She is a member of Red Tlaloc, the first community currency in Mexico, and she is co-founder of the Multitrueke Mixiuhca exchange community in Mexico City. She has participated in various international meetings, such as the People's Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and the International Conference of Social and Complementary Currencies in Brazil, Spain, and Japan. She is an active participant in the World Social Forum and has written books on community currencies. So today, the topic of her speech is A Change of Meaning, Stop the Climate Emergency, Assuming Ourselves as Ecosystems. So, Claudia, please.
Thank you so much, Qinqi and Jadi. It's always a pleasure for me to be here. I love to be here at the South-South Forum and to be able to be participating with this amazing global university. So I've been able to keep up with this year's theme, and I think it's fundamental to speak from this comprehensive health perspective. As part of our experiences in Mexico, we have been working on health from a natural perspective, a comprehensive perspective, close to nature and to the way in which we perceive the creation of communities, and all our efforts have been done in the sense of community and finance, and how we self-conceive in relation with other human beings and in relation to how we inhabit the world. This has been going on for several years. Actually, the presentation that I will give today, it's a presentation of a project, the latest project that we had started with Luis Lopez Llera, who was the founder of the community currencies in Mexico, one of the promoters of solidarity economy in Mexico, and a very active person in international networks. So alongside him, we had a conversation on the 25th year anniversary of our work towards promoting alternative economies and community currencies. So we realized that there were two key principles that we had to work on without a doubt. The quantitative aspect of economy first, that is that we had to access thinking on economic relationships from the perspective of abundance and sharing. And then a second basic principle that we had to work on was the relation with the territory, or what we called ecosystem. So how we self-conceive as part of an ecosystem. So this initiative was called Ecommun, and I would like to now share my screen so that I can show you this better, so that I can present to you this initiative. So as I said before, one of our main reflections was that we had to think of how to integrate ourselves once again and be part of what we call ecosystem. So we knew that we had to find meaning once again in this word, eco-dependency, that is, where life depends of harmonious relationships with all beings in that ecosystem. That ecosystem is a complex organization of those different beings which live in full interdependence. So to us, speaking of ecosystem, had to do with asking ourselves, how can we inhabit the planet once again? On the basis of that new way of inhabiting the planet, we also can be part of the transformation, the positive transformation of that ecosystem. So in order to understand life from the point of view of ecosystems, one big important challenge was to think of geography differently, not to think about it from the perspective of nation states or borders that had been imposed, let's say, but actually to think of this from the perspective of the relationship between those living beings. For example, this idea of basins, rivers, valleys, or jungles, etc. Recently, less than 1 month ago, I was in Bolivia, in the part of the Amazon. I was part of the Pan-Amazonic Social Forum, and I saw there was very serious and sad problems with regard to oil extraction and mining companies. But I was very happy to find a community of different indigenous peoples, associations, and groups that self-subscribe to the Amazon, let's say. They are part of the Amazon, and they are doing precisely this. They are overcoming the borderlines of the countries that are part of the Amazon in order to reach an agreement and to see how they can preserve this ecosystem. So this is what we referred to when we thought that we had to create organizations and a way of inhabiting the world beyond geographies. And we had to guide ourselves by the ecosystems themselves. So then we consider that it was fundamental to think of an ecosystem subject. That is, a subject that has a territorial rooting, let's say, and it's not only living, in that territory and meeting the needs, but actually they know that the territory can provide them food, health, and clothing, and that thanks to that landscape, they can create art or culture, and that thanks to that territory, they can finally step on firm land. So the ecosystem inhabitant is a person that has a clear idea of the importance of their lives as part of the ecosystem and that territory, but they are also seeking for these ways of inhabiting territories by asking themselves, how am I going to transport myself? How am I going to create health, culture? How am I going to feed myself? how am I going to live in that territory? Their activism in defense of the territory is done precisely based on that way of living, based or rooted in the ecosystem. We try to conceptualize these elements, and so we found that there were 5 key elements, at least, in this ecosystem activism that was surging in Mexico back then. So we summarized them in these 5 pillars: alternative economies, which are solidary, ecological, and cyclical. Maybe some of them speak of blue economies or transformative economies. Then the second pillar is the commons, which basically is this: defending water, land, air, seeds, jungles, forests, etc. Then food sovereignty, of course. In the case of cities, this goes hand in hand with urban gardens or philosophies such as agroecology. Then the fourth is integral health, that is a self-managed and responsible health. And then finally, the cultural part: communication, education, this free art and emancipative culture. And so we have many examples of these 5 axes or pillars. In Mexico, there are many ecosystem activists that are working on these pillars. So I wanted to just share with you the one that is related to natural health. We have a series of networks in Mexico that work from a comprehensive, natural, vegetarian perspective. They work with herbs and a combination of ancestral knowledge, and especially they work from a popular perspective. That is, they promote a health system for indigenous marginalized communities or slums, and they offer their health services for free. All of this that I am sharing now has a fundamental point of view, which is the economic aspect. As I said at the beginning, it has been very important for us, the fact that all these ecological and health issues are related to an economic and financial tool. We cannot create social relationships that are healthy, or a relationship with our environment that is healthy, if we are using an instrument to barter, to purchase, to consume, that is stained with blood and that is fostering individuality and violence. So if we want to truly create a change in our way we inhabit the world or the paradigm that we engage in, we have to change finances and we have to change the economic or monetary system. So we have been working on currency methods for a long period, but we had to have a currency focused on the idea of preserving ecosystems under these 5 pillars I just shared with you. And this is called Ecomun. Ecomun is a currency that is being used in Mexico in a very particular way, because the Ecomun is used with donations. People donate things, these become Ecomun, and these are provided to the ecosystem militants, those who are providing comprehensive health or who are defending the territory or engaging in solidarity economy. These people receive these Ecomuns, and with this they can purchase food, health products, hygiene products, etc. So all the products that we offer in our solidarity economy networks. This way, we help those people that are creating alternatives and are defending their territories. We create a bond, and at the same time, this currency, the ecomun, becomes a starting point. It's based on sharing, on giving, and it has this purpose of helping those who are preserving the territory and are creating these.
So lastly, I would like to share with you, just to close, I would like to share some conclusions that we were able to draw. We knew that a first big challenge was to find this relationship between the speculative financial system and the overexploitation of nature. We know this because we live in a financial system that is based on debt, because it is a financial system that forces us constantly to continue growing profit, and it forces us to constantly extract more and more natural resources. Recently, in this forum that I was able to participate in Amazonia, I was invited by an organization called Latindad, and our comrades from this organization did a very interesting research where they showed how foreign debt is completely linked to the extraction of natural resources in the Amazon. So the countries with large foreign debt don't have any other resource than to sell very cheaply their natural resources. The financial system, of course, is linked completely to the exploitation of natural resources. And that first point, we need to be very clear about it. The second point is that those of us who wish to promote community currencies and that are on this path of creating self-organized groups, that those of us who are creating ecological projects and networks, we need to think about holistic strategies where we're not only going to focus on issues, for example, related to health or on solidary finances, but rather we need to see this in a comprehensive way, each one of these different proposals comprehensively. And I believe that this is very important when we are able to weave our networks and when we discuss this in international fora. The other thing that we also find is very important is that many alternative currencies think that only by changing the monetary instrument you are going to change the economic logic or the life or the livelihoods logic. And it's not the case. We can change one currency for another. We can substitute the dollar, the peso, the yen, the yuan, but for another currency. But this will not guarantee that we change the logic or the rationale by which we live. So we really need to create we need to find a new rationale, a new way of inhabiting a new rationale. And we believe that a fundamental concept in that sense is reciprocity. We need to create reciprocity relationships between people where we realize that one of the fundamental values is the value of friendship. Through the value of friendship, we are not only appreciating people with whom we coexist, we cohabit, with whom we relate. In Spanish, we use the word, we say that we have to go from price to appreciation. We need to change the rationale, the market rationale, to the community rationale, friendship rationale that makes us look people in the eye, be concerned about our fellow comrades, and share and be generous with people. And based on this paradigm shift is that we really are changing the way in which we inhabit the world. So I would like to thank you very much for giving me this time to share with you a little bit of what we are doing in Mexico, among many other different networks and initiatives that we are working on. But this particular initiative that I talked about today, I wanted to share it with you. I thought it was very important to do so because it has to do with this comprehensive understanding of the earth and of ourselves, taking care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And so we will have each speaker speak for 20 minutes, and then we will have a round of interactions and questions and answers. Thank you, Claudia. So now our next speaker, we had initially invited Salete Carolo to be speaker, but then he cannot come. So we now have the colleague Juliane SOARES RIBEIRO to be talking about the situation in Brazil. So Juliane SOARES RIBEIRO is settled in the municipality of Tapes, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. She is currently a member of the MST's state leadership, overseeing the training centers in Rio Grande do Sul. So the topic would be the MST in the fight against agribusiness, the experiences of agroecological rice cooperatives. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm going to speak in Portuñol because I haven't practiced my Spanish in a long time. So if the translators have any problem understanding me, please let me know. I would like to thank you very much for the invitation to be here to participate in this forum. My comrade Salete Carolo, she had another activity and she wasn't able to participate today. So I'm going to try to represent her here today to talk about our experiences in the field of agroecology that tries to counter the production of agribusiness. So I want to talk about community health, sustainability, but focusing on this agroecological production. This is a huge challenge. In the current stage that we face in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, this state was greatly affected by the climate crisis. In less than a year, we have suffered 3 big floods that have devastated lives and have impacted our cities and towns. So we are in a very complicated scenario right now in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. At the same time, it is necessary to debate this topic deeply, and particularly to debate it responsibly. For everything that my comrade just now spoke about, the development model that prioritizes profit and money instead of the conservation of nature, of common goods that belong to humanity at large. So this climate crisis that affects the whole world leads us to question ourselves, to question the type of lives that we live, particularly at the collective level. We're not talking about an individual level. We're talking about collective with our endless consumerism, the devastation of forests, forest fires, so as to, for example, create grazelands for cattle, the dismantling of biodiversity in favor of the production of commodities. All of this will lead us to a future with a lot of poverty, disease. But then the question that remains is, what should we do and what are we doing? What are we doing in the world, in communities, and particularly in territories that are embracing agroecology as a way to produce a dignified life in the rural areas with diversity, both human and natural. Now I'm going to tell you about the experiences of the families in the metropolitan area in Rio Grande do Sul. Their production is based on the production of rice in agroecological plots or farms. I'm going to tell you a bit about how these settlements work so as to contextualize the reality that we are living. You can move forward. Thank you, Maisa. So, settlements in Rio Grande do Sul. Currently, we have 344 projects, settlement projects, with 13,740 families settled there. And they take up 295,000 hectares of land. It is important to say that these settlements, the MST settlements, are a result of the social struggle. They were made possible through a public policy, agrarian reform public policy. But this took place through a struggle specifically over the land. So settlements are a contested space of the projects, because we do not live in an isolated island. We are in society with all its contradictions. And so our settlements also are contested spaces where disputes take place. You can move to the next slide, Maisa, please. So we say that our MST project or settlements project seeks to be a place where a peasant community can develop. It is a place where you live and work. And the MST seeks to work on different dimensions, on the different dimensions of life. This is my child, this is my young daughter who is at home with me today. So you see, I am divided between my motherhood tasks and my task to be here with you. So the MST is organized in different dimensions of life: the education, the training or formation of our settled youth, combining scholarization, technical knowledge, and political ideological knowledge, and also mainly with the organization of communities, the settlements, the homes, the supply of water, etc., and also particularly production. It is focused on production. So the strength of this movement, of the MST, the landless movement, also has to do with the productive organization of the settlements. Who leads economy, or who leads in the economy, leads politically these settlements. So the MST is also involved with the production of food, with agroecology and cooperativism. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the production of rice, agroecological rice, and also the production of the vegetable gardens, or the places where we produce the rice. We call this productive chains. And I'm going to summarize the history. These are very successful experiences, but with the climate crisis, the continuity of these experiences is quite threatened. So the production of rice began in 1998. And for the movement in Rio Grande do Sul, it brought this debate and the practice of agroecology. So it starts by denying the agrochemical package and the conventional production. It rejected this type of conventional production with agrochemical products. This production made the different forms of cooperation between families develop in the settlements, and it also led to the industrialization of production. We understood that it was important to organize the production, but we needed to move forward as well in the productive chain as a whole. So I brought some images here to show you how this experience has taken place. Currently, this experience of the production of agroecological rice is located in 11 municipalities, 16 settlements, and it comprises approximately 352 families in an area of approximately 3,000 hectares. Here I brought the map of Brazil so you can locate where the state of Rio Grande do Sul is on the map. You can see it's on the south. It's the southernmost state, Rio Grande do Sul. And here in the map that you see on the right, you can see where we have the municipalities where the production of agroecological rice is taking place in the different settlements that I mentioned before. Here I brought the experience with images to show how this is produced. We produce the pre-germinated rice, and here you can see where the grain has germinated and it goes to an irrigated place that has water. Here the rice is in the process of growth. As you see, you can see that it is growing in water. This is irrigated rice, not rice that grows in a dry place. Here you can see it continues to grow. It continues to grow in the water, and this enables us also to control the different plagues that might exist. When it has reached this stage that you see on the left, we do the harvesting. The harvesting is done with large machinery because these areas are really large. So it is done with machinery. Here, a summary during from the period of from the beginning to the end of the process, to the harvest. As I said before, it was very important to develop the productive chain at large. Here there is an image of one of our industries in different that we have in different cooperatives that does the whole process: planting, sowing, and then harvesting, and then industrialization. Here are some images of the industrialized products and the different brands that commercialize our agroecological rice. Now, just to briefly mention this, I also thought it was necessary to speak about our agroecological vegetable gardens. These vegetable gardens are historical initiatives by families that initially produced for their own sustainability, their own family sustainability, for self-consumption. And in this metropolitan region, this productive process was presented as a possibility for receiving an income, as an income possibility for the settled families. So in this productive chain, in this production group, we have 200 families that are participating. part of their production is devoted to markets, to commercialization through markets that take place in the different municipalities, and they are also commercialized in governmental public policies. For example, the PNAE, which is a national school food program, where these products reach schools in order to feed children. Also, the result of these vegetable gardens are part of the another social program for community kitchens or community in peripheric or areas of different cities. So in this in this region, there are more than 40 organic or agroecological fairs or markets where the families commercialize these products. Here I brought some images of these different vegetable gardens that are cared for by these families. This particular family lives in El Dorado, a municipality that was drastically impacted by the floods and the water and the rain brought on by the climate crisis. So this family today is struggling to continue their production today because there is a lot of water still in their property. Here we have more images of vegetables, and also you can see the strawberries. And here we have the images of the market where they commercialize their products in the capital of Rio Grande do Sul, which is the city of Porto Alegre. Here we have delivery of products in social public policy by the government. So we can see the families delivering their produce for the families that live in the city's peripheries in order to organize their community kitchens and feed the communities and the population. So we need to think about these cooperative work or labor processes of agroecological production will establish another way of community relating among people, and that these labor practices will guarantee a productive diversity. But it's much more than this. It's much more than mere production. This integration is going to produce a new form of sociability, of relationships between the settled families. And this is materialized in these forms of cooperation, organization, that play a political, social, and organizational role of the settled families.
So in order to conclude and cover some reflections on the importance of the peasant communities, I brought an image of a cooperative that produce rice, produce bread, and this settlement and cooperative organized a way of agro village. This is how we call it here. This is how the houses are organized, and the production and the conservation of the environment and the diversity. So this is our project of agroecology and agrarian reform. We think that this can contribute a lot to a different perspective of development, one that preserves nature, our commons, and a harmonious relationship between human beings and nature. we have lots of challenges ahead, even in our own settlements, because as I said at the beginning, these settlements are also territories that are being disputed because they counteract the hegemonic productive model. But these experiences, like the one I just shared with you, and plus many, many others that we have seen in relation to the production of agroecological seeds or milk or other produce, all of this can contribute to the sustainability of the peasant populations. This can also contribute to the production of healthy food to supply the big cities. So that is what I had prepared to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Please stay on. Now attend to your kid, but then come back for the questions and answers session. Thank you, Julia. So now we are going to invite Professor Yang Shui from China. He is Associate Professor in the School of Economics of the Beijing Institute of Technology. He had his PhD in management and postdoctoral in political economy. He is visiting scholar of the Institute of Chinese Studies, and his main research fields are rural reconstruction and rural finance. He has published many academic papers in the People's Daily and Management World and others. He has also undertaken several rural development development-related issues and published works such as inter-organizational networks in the community, an analysis on the organization of small agriculture households, and also three-dimensional agri-issues and 3 levels of rural governance. So, and his topic today is. So his topic today is digital change and ecology, production and livelihoods of rural communities. So Professor Yang Shui, please.
It's a great honor to be here, to be with all the friends from all parts of the world to talk about sustainability and health. And I have learned a lot from the previous speakers. I have known many interesting cases and phenomena in different parts of the world. I am now based in Beijing. It is almost 10 o'clock p.m. in Beijing. And I believe that in some parts of the world, you are still in the daytime. So when I imagine this conference, different people in different parts of the world, in different time zones, I have a picture in my mind, which is renowned in development economics, which is the picture of lights shoot in the satellites. You can see there are many lights in the nights of the north countries, while in the southern countries, it is all dark. And this picture shows the difference in development between the north world and the south world. And this comes from a stereotype that when the lights are on, it means high development level. In recent years, when I conduct studies in the villages and the countryside, I have changed this kind of stereotype. For example, when I went to a village in the East China, it is a very remote village in mountains. And in this world of industrialization and urbanization, it doesn't have any development advantages. So it has been behind this era. But that's the exact reason why it has a great ecological environment. So at the night, you can see the shiny stars in the night. Therefore, there are many people that come to the village to look at the sky. So it seems very behind in economy, but there are many people go to this place to enjoy the beautiful natural environment, and which gives rise to a new kind of economy called dark night economy. And by promoting this kind of economy, they have built a low carbon village and a new economic village. Because the light we see in the North countries, the light comes from the lights. They can have many pollutions. However, in this place, you can also see light in the dark night, but it's totally natural and beneficial to the environment. So this is called the dark night economy because it consumes low energy. And in the daytime, it uses solar system to store the electricities. And in the night, it can just consume these new energies. So from this example, I want to talk about this question that the high energy consumption, the high pollution, industrialization, and urbanization development path is unsustainable, especially in this digitalized world, digitalized era. The digitalization is affecting the economic development in every aspect. The geological limits are broken, and there are remote places, remote people are brought closer by digitalization. So we have much potential in improve the ecological sustainable development in the era of digitalization. So that's why I want to give my topic today, which is digital change and ecology, production and livelihoods of rural communities. I want to look back to the capital production methods in the past few centuries. It has created exclusion to our livelihood and ecology. According to Marx, capital is money that continuously appreciates. When money enters the capitalist production process and achieves appreciation, it becomes capital. When it enters family life, it becomes a consumption fund. And the goal of capital appreciation is achieved by alienating people into standardized production factors in the production field and expropriating the surplus value created by their labor without compensation. And this is widely known. For example, we have Chaplin's film Modern Times depicting this phenomenon. And this hierarchical and command-oriented organization is referred to in the Western economy studies as bureaucracy. Capital appreciation is the core logic driving the operation of production organizations. The goal of capital appreciation is transformed into various growth indicators, guiding competition at all levels of economic society. Individual KPI growth indicators support the competition of enterprises or organizations. Financial growth indicators of enterprises support themes and competition in the capital market. The capital market sits at the top of this capital appreciation food chain, with Western capital markets at the pinnacle of the world economy. and is affecting the GDP growth at last. This production process that serves capital appreciation is essentially one that fragments social life and impacts the environment. Since individuals are transformed into factors and tools within the production machine, outside of production, life and consumption exist solely as venues for the reproduction of labor. And that's why we have consumerism. This consumerism, constrained by costs, shifts towards a fast food culture. And behind this fast food culture is a neglect of quality and disregard for the ecological environment. And this in turn leads to the formation of a race to the bottom mechanism in the production sphere. People do not care about quality anymore. They only pursue low cost and to product in a large scale to gain more benefits. And in this way, social and environmental costs are externalized as much as possible. And that's why we have so many social problems right now. Because the production process dominated by the movement of capital appreciation is essentially one that fragments social life and ultimately impacts the ecological environment. And this capitalist production process is augmented by digitalization. So this gives rise to the next question. The digital capitalism intensifies the exclusion of life and ecology. Because the digital capitalism has formed a hierarchy. Well, the hierarchy organization that emerged during the era of industrial capitalism provided efficient organizational support for capital appreciation. Digital capitalism positions digital platform enterprises at the center of this hierarchical structure, and it has connected every producer and consumer. So this new change in the mode of production under digital capitalism intensifies the exclusion of life and ecology. So first, we can see the decentralization of production and enhanced control. On the surface, we can see the application of digital technology allows subjects to join the production process in a more flexible manner and breaks through geographical limitations. For example, we can attend this meeting in different parts of the world is what happens due to digitalization. But however, digital platform enterprises have strengthened their control over the production process, resulting in increased exploitation of individual workers who have joined the production process. So individual can work for the enterprises without actually being part of this business, which is a flexibility given from the digitalization. So in this mode, the business don't have to pay the workers as in a formal way. So in this industrial capitalist era, various basic rights and protections for employees were secured through decades of social struggle and legal safeguards. However, in this digital era, the digital application allows platform enterprises to circumvent these laws effortlessly, and they can capture more surplus value from individuals. And in this process, workers' wages are often insufficient to cover the cost of living in the production location. And this makes it difficult to sustain labor reproduction. And under this pressure, digital nomads have emerged as a new phenomenon, escaping urban areas to engage in remote work. And some studies suggest that this phenomenon is actually a response to cost shifting by digital platform enterprises through geographical arbitrage. So this is the first problem. Then we have the second problem, that is, consumption has been turned into production. While digital platform enterprises exacerbate labor exploitation by offloading labor hiring costs, the productionization of consumption has become a new way for these enterprises to extract labor value without compensation. And every consumption by the general public in the form of data becomes raw material for platform enterprises. Browsing data, viewing data, transaction data, daily travel and activity data, and even facial feature data of individuals are all collected. When people indulge in online entertainment materials like the videos and use their spare time to casually browse short videos, they continuously provide data for the digital platform enterprises, contributing labor value for free. And the third problem is monopolization and polarization of circulation. The circulation sector is the most widely impacted area by digitalization. Based on the intelligent and refined management of production processes and entities, as well as the precise understanding of consumption through massive data mining, digital platform enterprises quickly establish a monopolistic competitive position in general circulation, or rather an absolute control position compared to traditional circulation entities. And this monopoly and control have strengthened, and profit distribution has become more polarized. Our observation and research on platforms engaged in community agricultural product group buying revealed that pursuing transaction volume and activity is the fundamental business logic for such platforms. Platforms generally rely on low prices to gain a competitive edge and market share. So these platforms compete to have a low price advantage. Therefore, we have many group buying platforms right now, and they have a negotiating advantage to the distributors and the sellers.
So we can see the producers can only lower the quality to get profits. Some of them even use pesticide and chemical products. And the damage will be put on the environment and the ecosystem. So in food security industry, the good products with higher quality will be excluded from the market sooner or later, because most of the consumers who are price sensitive, they tend to buy the products with lower prices. So on some shopping platforms, the prices are transparent. So most of the consumers tend to buy the cheaper products because they care more about the price rather than quality. And then the production will be even worse. And we can see the platform enterprises can make use of digital technologies and intensify the production chain and make better use of the products. Then they can gain more capital. So this making profits chain and techniques will only lower the quality of the products. That is the new material of capitalist market. Most of the money will flow to industries that needs a lot of money. The shopping platform and digital platform will have a centralized control over products and the labor forces. The labor forces will be subjugated. So people's life and production will also be included in digital technology and production. There will be more waste and more environmental damages. So the digital capitalist production will exclude good quality of life and production and products. So should we be so unhappy about it? No. Things are promising as well. Since community can be home to digital technologies, and we can transform the use of digital technology. Since we have blockchain technology and we have AI, we have the Internet of Things, we have all those technical transformations, the digital transformation philosophy will be decentralization, and things will be centered around communities. The decentralization's basic framework will be surrounded by communities. Decentralization is very famous and popular. It is self-governed community. In this community, each and every producer can be a center. And people will be surrounded by a small community and group. And they can set up their rules in the form of encrypted capitals in the letters, and things can be put in the blockchain. And this small group will have their own role. They can be self-sufficient, and AI will lower the threshold of blockchain technology. They can help people to put their information in models, which can be processed by blockchain afterwards. The most creative philosophy and discoveries can be realized by AI, and the labor force will no more be suppressed, and they can be self-governed and self-sufficient with the use of blockchain and digital technologies. And as for Internet of Things, the creative spaces the virtual spaces will be connected with each other in the real world due to Internet of Things. All of these technologies will decentralize the producers, and it will create a new type of framework of distribution, and it will replace the former centralized capitalist market of profit accumulation. And each community can be a self-governed producer. It can hire its own labor forces, and it can gain money on its own. And that is the source of capital and the source of value in the future. And people's livelihood will be closely related to its labor forces and the capacity, and its living space will exactly be the place where production happens. So people can realize self-value and also gain enough money and a currency to support their own life. So this kind of currency will only be a token to get exchange for other foods and the supply. So everything will be around self-sufficiency and the need of life, basic need of life. The capitalist market period will be ended in the near future. The production place will exactly be where you live in. And community will be the base. The distributed blockchain type of production will allow us, will provide us some technical assistance to be around by community. In China, many digital technologies and cutting-edge technologies industries have already get into rural areas. We have bloggers, vloggers, KOL, influencers, engineers, scientists are using technologies and knowledge, their expertise to bring this new technology into rural areas, and they are helping rural revitalization with their own knowledge and capacities. For example, in Anji County in Zhejiang Province in China, there is a commune of digital nomad, and they also have a logo, and there is a huge base. So this Anji County is also a revolutionary philosophy base of China, and it is a place where people care much about environmental protection. And in Anji County, we established a global partnership program and initiative, and everything will be centered around digital technology in rural areas. And we are trying to attract global investors to invest here in Anji Province, Anji County. So this commune is one of the interesting programs here in this county. And in 2023, we have 1,400 digital nomads coming to Anji County. Some of them used their advantages and skills to do the packaging work of Anji geographical indication products. Another example is in Pingtan County in Fujian Province of China. There are many ancient villages there, and most of the villages are protected very well, so many young artists are attracted. Most of them were born in 1980s and 1990s, and they're very young. After graduation, they sought a job in urban cities as they are under very strong pressure, and they know that things are different in Fujian province, and so they would like to start their own business here in Pingtan County in Fujian province because they have the skill of designing and they can create things, and so they can be inspired by the ancient villages in this county. The indigenous people are very few. Most of them have flown into big cities. Most of the young people in the ancient villages have left their hometown. So the 200 young artists are attracted back to the county, and they try to redesign the ancient village characteristics and make them more suitable for the interest of young people in urban areas, make them cater for the young people, the new generation. And they will sell these culture products with better packages and make them a kind of culture and creative products. And they can sell this kind of products on the internet because they have special Chinese liquor and wine. I know someone who was born in 1990s, who is a young girl graduating from a prestigious university, and she can master English. After coming into this village, the girl can do some translation job online to get some part-time salaries, and she also took picture of the beautiful sceneries in these villages, and she combines the villages image together with some Japan pictures and cartoons. And this new type of culture creator can be sold at very high prices, so she can gain a lot of money by doing part-time jobs while living in these ancient villages. So in those areas, people can combine their work and life together. So we can look forward to seeing how the third generation of information technology will be used in rural revitalization, and there will be waves of digital nomads coming to rural areas. There will be the new residents in rural areas, and they can be integrated in the local towns. And all of this will be together as a base of future development of rural areas in China. Maybe there are many new problems arising from this new phenomenon, and how will these young people play their part in the local governance of the rural areas for their long-term self-development? How will they deal with their children's education? Will they move back to the cities, and how can they enjoy their a late life in villages? Will they go back to their hometown in the big cities? So in the new era of digital transformation, we see the problems aroused by the conventional capitalist economy. So when we are encountering the new type of digital technology in rural areas, there will be new problems as well. So how should we deal with them? And how should we make better use of the digital technologies transformation in rural areas? So that is, I'm going to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yang Shui. So it's very interesting how all this has been happening.
Juliane has prepared some pictures about the flooding in Porto Alegre. However, she has to take care of her daughter, and Melissa can say a little bit about the situation with the PowerPoint with
Yes.
some pictures, maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
Yes,
Yes,
so
please.
maybe Jadi, you also read your question first, so people, the participants would know what's the question.
My questions, I would like to ask Juliane about the current situation after heavy flooding in Porto Alegre, and MST mobilization for community rebuilding.
I'm not from Rio Grande do Sul, but we was accompanying the news because this is the huge flow that we have in Brazil since ever. Actually, this region in Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul, have been facing this problem with flooding since 2 or 3 years ago, and this is a result of the climate change. And actually, Rio Grande do Sul is one of the largest rice producers of all Latin America. So this is a situation that is very sad because in one hand we have MST and the other organic rice producers. They are doing just as Juliane said, they are producing organic rice, healthy rice, but on the other hand, we have the agro business, we have the capital with big crops, and this is the face of capitalism that is showing us that we need to change. We need to change our way of production, and we need to change it right now. So this is some pictures that Juliane sent me today, and this is the communities around the settlements. As Juliane said, we have a lot of settlements in this place, and most of them they were flooded, and a lot of producers they lost all the productions. Juliane said Juliane showed the producers who were producing healthy food, and sadly they lost it all. So this is the picture. This first picture is a lot of animals also die in the flooding. So this is very sad pictures. And these photos Juliane sent actually is this first photo is a voluntary work that MST did in the communities around the settlements. And next, I will show you some pictures of the settlement itself. This is one picture. I believe this is Juliane's settlement. And as you can see, this is the situation after the flood. This is some kitchen utensils, and you see it's and some house furnitures. Sadly, they are all covered by mud. This is Terra Livre. This is one of the brands produced that is selling rice all over the country and also exportation. And this is the second. Yes, here you can see until oh, sorry, let me come back. And this you can see is inside the cooperative. And here we have another examples. People taking all the furniture and after the flooding and trying to clean it up. And here you can see is a family, MST family in the settlement. And outside is all the furniture. Sadly, all the furniture is lost after this. Just a few furniture can be saved. Also here, they are trying to clean up the cooperative Terra Livre. And here you can see by the marks on the wall where the water just get. You see it's too high. It covers almost all the house. So that's it. This is just a little bit of the photo that Juliane sent me. And now they are reorganizing. They are with solidarity, with voluntary work, they are reorganizing the life in the communities and the life in the settlements and in the cooperatives. Again, right now we have to face this challenge. These floodings, they are happening more and more frequently and with more and stronger than before. So this is a situation that we need to face. And until now, I don't know how we can do this. That's all.
Thank you, Maisa. Thank you for showing us the photos and updating us about the plight of the farmers, the peasants, and the people in Brazil. So we know that actually this is happening everywhere, and also the extreme weather has now been manifesting itself so much that every year we are saying that the temperature is breaking records. And we have had a lot of rain in Hong Kong. We have had very hot weather in northern China. And I read yesterday one piece of news which said that it was 81 degrees in the northwestern part of China at a particular point. So it is 81 degrees Celsius. This is what they said. So I think we are, well, the question about climate collapse has been one of our key concerns, although we have not been dealing much with this time in this forum. But I feel that that we need to also focus more also on how we can be self-saving in trying to deal with these issues, and not just looking to governments to make their pledges, which never really materialize. So thank you again. So do we have any questions for our two speakers? Could you raise your hand if you would like to pose a question, whether you are among the panelists or whether you are an attendee. If you are an attendee, but if you would like to say something, please just raise your hand and we will unmute you for you to speak.
We've seen a lot of examples of sustainable ways of living at the village level, but you mentioned urban spaces, which seems a lot more difficult to do. Could you please elaborate a bit more on efforts to make urban spaces ecologically sustainable? Yesterday, Professor Stethenia also spoke about the problematic nature of mega projects. What can be done to organize horizontally to resist such projects with other communities across the region?
Thank you, Simon. Well, the first question regarding urban spaces, well, that is very complex. It's very complex to work on community relationships with this harmonious relationship with nature, because we are flooded with cement, and this is ever present in the life of people. I live in a mega city, in the city of Mexico, but I am aware that for the past 20 years, we have been trying to create alternatives in the city. I think it's fundamental, it's essential that the idea is not just moving physically from the city to the rural areas, because at least in Mexico, we have seen the damages that this has caused when people have arrived at the countryside, but with the same ideology that they had, the same paradigm that they had in the city. So what they created were ecological disasters in the rural areas. So to me, in my opinion, what we have to mobilize is our consciousness before our bodies. So this is why it's key for us to learn to live differently in the cities. I think that as part of the tools that we have in the cities is, well, first, urban vegetable gardens and how they can create food sovereignty within cities. Unfortunately, well, there is a network of vegetable gardens in Mexico. It's still very small, but we have had marvelous experiences of these gardens in different parts of the world. Of course, Cuba is one of the role models in that aspect. And some other thing that has been fundamental for us is to recover the productive capacities of people in the cities. We have been forced to become employees and consumers. So we have to create the capacity to produce, not only in relation to the land, but actually in all levels. For example, we have to know how to create bread or our own clothing, or how we can build our own houses, for example. So the idea is to recover that skill to meet our needs in the local areas. This has been essential for us. And the third aspect is the relationship with producers that are close by, to keep a close relationship with the peasants that provide food to us. And as I mentioned before, these people are defending the territory that is surrounding us. So if we keep this loving bond with them, we are also changing this city paradigm. And now with regards to mega project, that is very complex. In Mexico, we have, I'm sure Anastasia has shared information on this, we have several mega projects that are changing the geopolitics of our country. And of course, there are many indigenous communities in the south of Mexico, that's many Zapatist communities that are bonding to defend the territories. The monster is huge, but I have been able to participate last year in a caravan that was called the South Resist. And we visited many of the places where these mega projects are being set up. And we saw how indigenous communities in their daily lives, they were resisting these mega projects with blockades and strikes and demonstrations. Sometimes what happens is that when these mega projects are set up, what is left for the communities is just surviving despite the devastation caused by these projects. So communities that were fisher people, for example, they cannot fish anymore in the polluted rivers, so they have to maybe shift to agroecology. So they have to change their dynamics of life to adapt to the ecological devastation created by these mega projects. That is very sad, but we have to create alternatives as a sort of climate emergency economy, because what happens with the peoples that have been flooded by the rising seas and they cannot work anymore as fishermen. So we have to see how to deal with that. The government is not doing anything, and business even less so. So we have to organize in groups, and we have to think of economic alternatives for those environmental displaced persons and those who are being affected by the mega projects.
From Peru, we have earthquakes, excessive rains, the El Nino phenomenon, a lot of rain and flooding on the coast, and drought and lack of water in the high areas. Now we are very cold because of La Nina phenomenon. All this is an expression of climate change. How to face a problem as diverse as the country is on 1 million square kilometers, which is very large.
Thank you. So I think maybe Claudia, would you like to answer this question? Because Juliane has left.
Yes, I think that we are facing the similar concerns. These questions, I think, show how the climate emergency and environmental disasters are truly affecting the most vulnerable populations. So we are asking ourselves on these issues of climate justice. I completely agree with Raoul. It's truly complicated how to see that our countries are very diverse in their geography and cultures. And so we are seeing different sorts of disasters, floodings, the rising of the sea levels, earthquakes, shutdowns, and fires, etc. So it's truly very sad that the most affected persons have been the ones that have less contaminated. In a community in the south of Mexico, in the peninsula, sorry, there was another microphone open. So they are displaced because the sea levels have risen. So the whole village has become flooded. And they told us, we thought that those who were going to suffer these devastation were the people living in the city, because they were the ones that were contaminating the most. They were living among the smog and the contamination. And actually it turned out that it was us that suffered. A small fishing village that was not truly contributing to the footprint. So it's not only sad and unfair, but also it's important for us to work, those of us who are creating these alternatives, those of us who are analyzing these situations, we have to see how to create solidarity bonds among peoples with these persons that are going to suffer the climate emergency most. I think that is one of the goals, the purposes. This is why I spoke of this alternative currency mechanism that seeks to develop solidarity between people that can have different sorts of resources, time, and money that they can share with those who don't have them. So how can we develop this solidarity within our communities and also at the international level, so that we can help these people that are going to suffer the most the climate emergency? We have to think of these economic alternatives, this emergency alternatives. And we have to take into account projects that are not standardized or homogeneous, because the diversity of indigenous communities, etc., and peasants, well, it's very extended. So we have to be aware of how to manage them. We have to contribute and at the same time foster the autonomy and the self-management of communities. We do not have to create a dependency. That is key. We have to always develop our own capacities for organization and self-sustainability.
Thank you, Claudia. I agree with you very much that we have to reduce our dependency and also to try to be self-sufficient as much as possible. Now we have two questions for Professor Yang, one from Jay and also one from Simon.
My question is about the digital nomad in Angie community. Why they choose live there? Normally, what sort of dilemma they are facing to make them choose live there? How long can they live there normally? Yes.
And then Simon, please.
Right. In 2022, a court ruling in Anhui province of a civil dispute between a family of a deceased delivery driver and Ulama, the court ruled in favor of the family, saying that the company should assume the responsibilities and obligations of an employer. Some optimistic people saw this as a legal precedent for regulations of the platform economy. Has labor regulation been able to catch up with the developments of the digital economy since then? What kind of developments have there been since then?
Okay, thank you for the questions. So first about Angie. You have asked a very important question, that is the digital nomads. How can they integrate themselves into the livelihoods and the productions of this community? From the global studies, we can see that the average time for a nomad to live in some place is about 1 to 2 years, less than 3 years. So the majority of the nomads still live in a very centralized production style. The difference is that they live in a different place. So they go to the countryside because they can lower their living costs, because they have a high living costs in the cities, and this problem will be solved in the countryside. At the same time, they can enjoy the beautiful scenery in the countryside. But this is only for a limited time. After a long time, they maybe get bored of the countryside lifestyle, so they won't stay for a long period. And there are some people who want to stay there for a long time. They want to be part of the locality due to the beautiful sceneries, the beautiful environment. They also can start their own business in the localities. So it's not only about Anji. There are also many places like in Fujian provinces where the youngsters go to those countrysides and create some sustainable projects using their own creativity. So we can see many outcomes in the countryside, which are created by these young digital nomads, like the artworks, like the design. So the youngsters stay there, and they have redesigned the houses by using their capabilities. They refurnished these houses, so this house can become a workplace for their new business. For example, in Fujian province, when he has reshaped the house, refurnished the house, his girlfriend also went there. Also, their family, the parents and the kids went there. Then they stayed there, because that place has become a place for his entrepreneurship. In the future, I think the nomads or these youngsters who can stay there as new villagers, they are faced with new problems, which I have mentioned at the end of my speech.
Maybe they still face some difficulties in life, in daily life. Because the digital nomads, they are young today, but when they have children, they have to wait for more educational resources for their children. And for now, we can see the educational resources in urban areas is quite better than those in rural areas. And when the digital nomads get older, they may seek for better medical resources and facilities. So maybe they need to go back to the city. So how should we deal with their future problems? And that is the problem that is to be solved by our government. And we need to improve the infrastructure and environment of rural areas to attract and save the young talents in local areas, because those digital nomad talents can bring new types of economy and new productions in towns and villages. So those rural areas need to find out solution to make them stay there. I'm sorry that I haven't got a case that you have mentioned in your question, but for digital platform, how should the law of labor contract can be localized and be suitable for this framework. That is a new problem. Today, we already have a comprehensive legal framework, and our digital platform is also doing everything legally. But the problem is that the digital platform is creating a new type of hiring system that is beyond the regulation platform and framework previously used. That is to say, we no more have an agreement between employers and employees. Today's digital economy and the platforms are creating gig workers. They are part-time workers. They're no longer the official employees of some companies or organizations. So we have two different systems of hiring. So how should we better guarantee the interest and the rise of the digital nomads, the gig workers? So we need to work on this continuously. We need more attention to be paid, and progress is needed. I do not have an answer yet, so we still need to work on it from the perspective of law and regulations.